I've lost a lot of my personal money. I've lost everything twice, and it's fine. We knocked it out of the park. 20 million bucks in 9 months of acquisitions. People who've never raised capital before is awesome. Long story short, those deals went south. Interest rates tripled in 2 years. Utilities doubled in a year. Insurance doubled in a year. The operator kind of went insolvent.
What happened?
You know, we're not really sure. When you lose other people's money, it's like double. I need to make them whole. There's only one person to blame, and that's me. Well, there should only be one neck that you can choke when things go wrong. I went and I visited 35 countries. I was living the digital nomad life. I met this guy. He has a company that has done consistently $10 million of revenue every single year. And this guy has a $60,000 watch, and he's asking me how the fuck I did that. And I was like, bro.
We all get the same 24 hours. So why is it that some people build so much more with them? I'm Brian Coons, and this is the Builder Nation podcast, where we talk to top performers, entrepreneurs, and visionaries to uncover the architecture of a meaningful and fulfilling life. Let's get into it. Okay, so take me through that transition from going from development, ADUs, getting mentored by somebody to this hotel space, how you made that jump, and what are some of the lessons that you've learned through that process?
Okay, yeah. So to give you a little bit of context, so 2020, 2021, 2019 even, I was still buying real estate. Like I did some out-of-state flips. I used my VA loan. I bought a 3-unit in IB. And then in 2021, throughout the course of the year, I liquidated everything. So I came into a heavy cash position. And there was a guy who was a veteran as well out in the Southeast who was buying hotels, syndicating to buy hotels. And he had this deal that he needed saved. So me and a buddy of mine saved the deal with the condition that we would start a syndication company together because we wanted to learn how to syndicate, put together big commercial deals. And that's what we did. And it went really well for a while, man. I learned how to raise capital. I learned about a different asset class. I learned about a lot of right ways to do things and a lot of wrong ways to do things. I'm happy to unpack.
What are some of the things that you did right?
I would say I'm always leading with integrity. Like I've always been someone who's been radically transparent about things on the internet and real life, spoken very openly about my failures, about the downside risks and projects and things like that. I would say the other thing we did right is we swung for the fences, man. We knocked it out of the park. 20 million bucks in 9 months of acquisitions. People who've never raised capital before is awesome, and took some vision to get there. So I would say those two things we absolutely nailed. Yeah.
I mean, when you're raising capital, or somebody's looking to get into that, not inherently just like, full syndications, but like they want to start raising capital. Like what are some of the ways that you were able to get in front of the right people, position yourself as an experienced operator, even though you didn't necessarily inherently have all the experience?
Yeah. So this is where it got interesting. And, this is kind of doing it right and wrong. So the right part of it was the operator was a 25-year hotel veteran, had already done, dozens of deals and had tons of full cycles and had a solid net worth and was personally guaranteeing the debt and all these different things, So we had that credibility on the team. And if anyone's trying to raise capital, I'm sorry, you're not going to do it for your first deal on your own. Like you might convince your friends and family, it's absolutely irresponsible. You need a credible operator to go along the ride with you. You should take your first risks on your own or with someone who has experience. But you shouldn't bring in outside investors or your friends and family into something that you've not proven. So
yeah. I think that's a point. When I got into things, right, I found partners that were in similar positions to me. So I didn't go raise money and say, I'm gonna execute this right away. It was like me and a couple buddies that were like, we're gonna fucking figure it out on the way down together. Yeah. And the other side of this is like, yeah, go find an operator, bring some capital, bring some time, bring some skill sets, and maybe even some of the relationships from people. It's like, look, like he's the experience of this deal. I'm the boots on the ground. And you can do that to leverage and create pretty big thing pretty quickly, I would imagine.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So, you just have to make sure that you deeply vet the people that you're going to work with. Long story short, those deals went south. Yeah. I think everyone can pick up on that. But when you're raising capital and you don't have a direct hand in the operations, can you really tell an investor, I got you, I'm going to take care of this, right? When someone invests with me today, there's only one person to blame, and that's me. There's only one finger to point, and that's me. And that's the way that any deal with private capital should go. There should only be one neck that you can choke when things go wrong, right? A centralized point of control.
No, it makes sense. So now take me through kind of some of the things that went wrong in that and what you've learned from it.
Yeah. So, first of all, interest rates tripled in 2 years. Utilities doubled in a year. Insurance doubled in a year. Average daily rates in all markets of our hotels, in one of them, they halved, right? One of them was only dependent on one economic cluster, which was a power plant. Power plant shut down. So all these different economic things that were out of our control, just kind of really, really fucked us hard, right? And secondly, the operator kind of went insolvent. So
What happened?
we're not really sure. We're still kind of investigating that. Part of it was these hotels were just hemorrhaging money, and he was personally covering the bleed for a long time. So as long as he could.
Yeah. So how do you vet an operator?
So every single person that we do business with now will do it's like almost like a private investigator background check. Like they're not following him around and stuff. We'll tell him, hey, we're going to do a background check, private investigator, but they'll take a look at, internationally, what has this person been involved in? What kind of lawsuits have they been in? All those things. Has there been any criminal history? Has there been any negligence when it comes to private capital? Any SEC flags thrown up and stuff like that? So, that's a big part of it. And then number two is I can't just meet you today and then tomorrow we're going to go raise people's money together.
Their life savings.
Yeah. Absolutely not, man. It just doesn't work that way. It's just not realistic. Let go of that dream. If you want to raise millions of dollars and you have zero experience today, take the time, chuck the first 2 years, go get your licks in, play a 10-year game. You'll be wildly more wealthy than your competition.
Makes a lot of sense. So how do you rebuild trust after taking a hit like that?
So number one, every investor that I brought into personally, I'm paying back, right? So I have agreements with them in place. And, they signed a document that said, it was equity. So they signed a document that pretty much said, I'm investing this money with the possibility of completely losing it, and I accept that risk. And they did accept that risk, but I'm not about to strike out in my first inning, man. So I'm going to pay every single one of them back.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I advertise at all, because I don't want to set that expectation, but I feel like I could have done things differently, and because of that, I'm going to make them whole.
Yeah.
So.
No, I love that. And I think that that's one of the biggest things is, you as an operator, your job, like I remember I had a very similar situation where we had our 11 unit project almost got foreclosed on. And we had about $400,000 of seller carry of this amazing Peruvian lady. She was willing to seller carry for us. I go over to her house and have dinner on a regular basis. My only goal was like, I just need to make sure she gets her fucking money back. Like, I don't care about mine. I don't care about my partners, like hers. Like the investor is the person that matters in that. And I think that taking that mindset is what I've seen from every person I know who's raised money successfully over an extended period of time. That's the number one thing, is like that they care about the person's money more than they care about their own.
You have to, because I've lost a lot of my personal money. I've lost everything twice, and it's fine, because you're like, yeah, I'll make this back. But when you lose other people's money, it's like double. I need to make this back. I need to make them whole. And if you're not willing to kind of put yourself in that frame of mind, raising capital is definitely not for you. And another thing I say on the theme of rebuilding trust is I've just been so transparent about my failures. I don't really look at them as failures. It's just part of the process. And every single person I know that's successful, yourself included, all of our friends, has blood on them. And if they don't, they're going to eventually. So you might as well get them after they fall on their face, because the chances of you falling on your face after you've fallen the first time drastically reduce. So.
Yeah. No, I love that, dude. And so you've been through a lot up to this point, since you've been out of the Navy, and you've also been in a lot of good quality rooms with people who have probably been able to help you a little bit through those processes, been able to lean on shoulders, been able to ask what to do in certain situations. So I want to pack that a little bit. Like, you are in some of the highest operating rooms that I have seen. You're in Brian Lubin's Action Academy. You're in Dave Prey's Military to Millionaire. And the thing about you that's very interesting is, like, you're not just in the rooms. Like, you actively are asked to be in the room. Well, like, how do you do that? Like, what does somebody do to be somebody who they ask to be in their room, to be an example for other people?
Yeah, it's an incredible question, man. And it goes back to the theme of the same reason I went and worked for that developer for free. Brian and I are close friends. He was at my house in Medellin for Christmas, 3 years ago, and we stayed in touch. I basically told him, like, dude, how can I be valuable to you? And I did I was doing 100 free coaching calls in 2023. So, and a lot of them came from Action Academy in the War Room, and I just put them out there and I said, hey, I want to help people out for free. This is who I am. This is what I've accomplished. If my experience is useful to you, let's do it. And it turned me kind of into a thought leader in those two communities, and it also created this interesting effect where now people give me credit for their success. They're like, hey, I talked to Adit in 23 or 24, and since then I bought $40 million in real. It's like I have the credit for that because of this conversation, because I took the time to help someone who was on the same ladder, maybe one or two rungs down. And then the other thing that I will say is on the same theme, just kind of living a life of service, dude. Like, how can I serve? How can I be valuable? How can I be instrumental to people? And then to that same note, being humble. So like when I'm at those places, maybe there's people who are at the same level as me, or maybe they're not. There's no levels in life. I think there's really two levels in this world, and it's God and humans, man. So no one's above anyone. There's only one person above us all. And if you think like that, that means every single person has something to teach you. So if you take that attitude and you apply it to all the relationships and interactions you have in people and you're vulnerable, you will find that people will really pour into you, and you will get around people who are at a much higher level than you that are willing to help out.
Yeah.
So
No, it makes sense, man. And it's interesting. So, you hear about return on investment, return on equity, even on houses. Like, explain return on proximity.
dude, yeah, man. Nothing that I've ever accomplished in my life has been done without people. Like, just being around the right people makes the entire difference. And when you talk about return on proximity, like, for example, I've been friends with this guy named Alex Felice. You've met Alex, right?
Yeah.
I've been friends with Alex Felice for like 5 years now. And just being his friend, he got me in front of somebody who took me on a private plane from Phoenix to Austin to Dallas last week. And I met 2 8-figure entrepreneurs, and I met an AI expert, and I met all these people. And it's just from like being friends with people, and then always like pouring into those friendships and being like, hey, how can I help you constantly? What do you need? What's your vision? How can I be instrumental to that? And it's like, to your point, it's almost more satisfying. Same thing with investors, like making sure I don't lose your money, taking care of you. It feels better than taking care of yourself. And as a byproduct, you get taken care of, you know? So return on proximity, man, I think if you can chuck everything else and you don't know anything, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to do it, just get around people who are doing it.
Yeah.
That's number one. So yeah.
And that's something that I've always noticed about you. Like, since I've known you, every time I see you, it's like, how can I add value to you? Like, what can I do for you, man? Like, who can I connect you with? There's like every single time I see you, it's just very refreshing, because like there, a lot of people are say that, but like you have to mean it, and you do.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate that, and I'm glad I have that reputation, man, because I'm intentional about it, and it goes just back to a deep belief in God, man, and a deep belief in the inherent good of humanity, and knowing that karma is real. So if you put good out, good will always come back.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So what's one of the best lessons you've learned from being in the communities? Being
in the communities has put me in front of a lot of very successful people. Like, I have friends who net $2-3 million a year. I have one friend who just exited a company for over $100 million, and he owned over half of it. So this level of wealth that I'm probably like 6 or 7 degrees of separation from, which has been nuts. But the one thing that I've learned is, first of all, everyone's got problems. So there's centimillionaires out there who are miserable about something. And what that tells me is that no matter what level you are at financially, you can still be rich in life by controlling your inner state and living life in a beautiful state. That's what everyone wants. What is an extraordinary of quality of life? It's not money, man. I've made a ton of money. I've lost a ton of money. I know people who've made 100 times more money than me, literally, and still not been happy in life. And all it is being able to control your heart and your head and live in a beautiful state. That's number one. Number two, I found that people who become wildly successful are aligned with the higher purpose. Like, for me, it's building the missing middle housing in San Diego. It's providing the housing product for the blue collar family and the military family when all of my competition's building luxury. For me, it's putting the amenities, the 5 pillars of property management, in median price point rentals. That's become my purpose, and it's made me wildly successful. When I was in hotels, the only purpose I had was I want to make a ton of money and I want to travel the world. And that just wasn't enough to propel me to the next level. So I would say, yeah, being in communities, that's what's taught me, is you get to observe success, and success leaves clues. So
yeah, no, I think that's a good point, because a lot of people, when they think of like a mastermind or they think of a community, sometimes it's tactical, right? It's how to learn how to, I was talking to somebody today, like learn how to finance deals, right? Like learn how to creatively finance deals. There's other ones like, mine teaches development, but like half the time I feel like I'm a therapist in there, which is like the most fun thing ever. Like I get to help people. The goal is like build better lives, right? And so finding, and realizing that at a relatively young age, I think is important, because it's not just money. And I think that that goal of the American dream has changed a lot. And so traveling, for example, is part of it. I think, adventures and new experiences are never going to run out of style. I kind of want to unpack that a little bit. So you moved to Colombia for a while. So take me through that story.
Yeah. So I moved to Colombia in December 2022, lived there till May 24. So I was like there a little over a year and a half. And while I was living there, I traveled to Europe. I traveled all over South America, the Caribbean. I went to Africa. I got to see the world. And what I was doing was I was just working remote. I was living the digital nomad life, still building my business here in San Diego. And I'm really happy I got that experience, man, because it gives you a taste of freedom. you know, but it also made me feel like I'm ready to come back and build. So I came back last year and we've just had massive scale and a really good time. But yeah, it was a hell of an experience for sure.
Yeah. What do you think was missing working remote in Colombia?
Yeah, absolutely. Purpose, like and community. Purpose and community. Like I had a really good community down there, don't get me wrong, but I'm just so passionate about San Diego, man, you know. And we've got an organization now where we're all super passionate about building housing in San Diego. We do one thing only, and I was definitely missing that in Colombia. In Colombia, it was still kind of money motivated. Like, how can I make the most amount of money so I can travel the most? But now it's more like, how can I become a household name in development here? So it's a completely different flavor of motivation. Yeah.
When you were there, right, if somebody wanted to build systems to be able to have the opportunity to travel, what are some of the best things that you could give them advice for on working remote and building a business remote?
Yeah, so it's funny. It goes back to the theme of forget about making money because earlier this year, I had the biggest blessing in my life. He's sitting over there. My director of ops, Nico, joined me. And because of him, it's like we're 5 people now, right? So I was a one-man show doing everything. But since I was able to give up some of my money, right? I'm like, you know what? By giving up and building him and giving him equity in our projects and giving him ownership in the company, I've actually made myself more wealthy because I've been able to multiply my efforts and also create a crusade behind our purpose. So I would say those two things: have, you know, heavy purpose, heavy why, and be very, very abundant and generous with your money, man. So.
Yeah.
Hey guys, if you're a business owner, high income earner, or investor who's been thinking about getting into real estate development but don't have the time to manage the process, this is for you. My company partners with people like you to help unlock the potential of your properties or even source and manage new small scale development projects. We manage hundreds of ADUs and infill development projects across Southern California, and our team knows how to simplify the process so you can benefit from the upside without managing contractors, permits, or design headaches. Whether you want to develop your own property, explore ways to offset taxes, or just learn how the development model works, head to thebuildernation.com/partner. That's thebuildernation.com/partner and see how we can help you build more with the same 24 hours. Now back to the show.
Yeah, that is. So when you're looking for somebody like that, because, you know, for you, you seem to fall in the category of more visionary, the capital raiser, the, you know, the face of the movement kind of thing. How do you find your right hand in something like that who is the right fit?
Yeah, I would say, you know, first of all, value alignment. So you want to make sure that you guys have the same values. Like, for example, if you're someone who would never cheat on your wife, like, you would never do that. Like, yeah, I'm married, I would never cheat on my wife or girlfriend, but your business partner would. That's not a value alignment. You shouldn't be in business with that person. It's just not, you know, simple things like that. Or like if you're somebody who talks to waiters with respect and your business partner isn't, you know, little things, man. But I would say, yeah, if you can align on integrity and values first, and then secondly, you have to be complementary. So it's funny because Nico and I were initially complementary, but then we later found that he's also a deep salesperson, just like me, you know? So we had to hire someone else to clean up our ops. So, but, you know, because of that, it's like, you know, having a complementary skill set and interest is absolutely crucial. Like, for example, yeah, I've done all this capital raising, I've done all this, you know, vision and business building, but really, like, what I excel at is building, right? So like, if I'm the person that if you give me a blank slate, it's a property, I could take it full cycle through design, permits, construction, lease up, fully vertically integrated. You know, I'm a general contractor, I'm a property manager. We have those two companies. And I met yesterday someone who all he wanted to do was raise capital. And I'm like, okay, that's a complementary partnership in which we're so opposite that we actually fill both halves of the requirement and we can build a massive business together. So those two things I would say are absolutely crucial to look at.
Yeah. So when you were there in Medellin, you know, how did you focus on work when you're living somewhere so wildly amazing?
Yeah, Medellin is absolutely beautiful, amazing. You know, I've always like deeply just loved what I do, man. Like, so one, like focusing on work it just makes it easy. When you love what you're doing and you're excited about it and you're happy about it and all you want to do is talk about what you're doing and building, it makes it a lot more fun. You know, like we're working right now, right? This is work, clock. Right? We're working, right? And this is so much fun. We've been friends for years. I haven't seen you in I don't know how long. But I would say design your life and your work in a way that you feel excited about it, number one. And number two, discipline, right? And is it really discipline if you love doing it? But yeah, there's days where I would wake up and I'll be like, you know what? I just want to drive to Guatapé, which is like this beautiful like water reservoir, and, you know, just hang out there for the day. And especially like because the cost of living is so low there, you can absolutely fuck off and it's very forgiving. But making that constant choice that no, between 9 and 5 or 9 and 7, I work, and that's it. And you know, I had a friend down there that I think you remember, John Lalonde, who was really, really good at that. He was just good at going in his bubble, putting his head down, working every single day. And because I saw that, once again, proximity, inspiration, community, because I saw that, I was like, holy crap, I can't ever fall behind because this guy's a monster.
Yeah. So after living, abroad for multiple years, what does freedom look like now for you?
That's an interesting question, man, and also a beautiful question. I would say freedom is exactly this right now, because every single day I get to wake up and work on something that I just unconditionally love, man. And if I want to, I can go to Medellin for a month or 6 months or a year if I want to. And if I want to, I can come back. And if I want to, I can quit today and, become a guitar player. It doesn't matter. Like, I would say that freedom, that's what it is. Freedom is the ability to control your internal state and live in a beautiful state all the time.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, dude. I mean, I have really, really bad days, especially the adversity that I faced. But being able to switch it off and go back into a beautiful, positive state, that's freedom right there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's the freedom of choice that I've noticed drives most of the people, because at a certain point, like, money fuels the economic engine, but at a certain point, it doesn't really do anymore, where you said you find people with $100 million plus and they're out of shape, they have shitty relationships, they are unhappy, they haven't went on vacation in fucking 3 years. It doesn't matter as much anymore. I think in the new world, it matters way more about the freedom and the ability to choose who you're around.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. And when I was in Dallas last week, I met this guy. He has a company that has done consistently $10 million of revenue every single year. Last year they doubled. This year they're doubling again, right? Insanely wealthy guy. And I was telling him, I went and I visited 35 countries and I, went and lived in South America, this and that. He's like, dude, how did you do that? And this guy has a $60,000 watch and he's asking me how the fuck I did that. And I was like, bro, pull out your phone, go to flights.google.com, pick where the hell you want to go and book the fucking flight. And he was like, holy shit. And I just couldn't wrap my mind around that, man. And I was like, wow, yeah, I understand what's important in life now. And it's not money. Yeah.
That's so funny, man. So with your goals now, it seems to be driven way more by impact than it does by revenue or income. So take me through what success looks like over the next 5 to 10 years for you and your business.
Yeah, so don't get me wrong, man. I love making money, bro. And that's capitalism for you, baby. We wouldn't have all this without the because money enables you to make impact. It absolutely does. But for me, I think the next 10 years is going to be just a continuation of what we're doing now, and that's full vertical integration. Like, if you look at an organization like Landmark Properties, they're the premier name of student housing in America. Fully vertically integrated design, contractor, property management, everything full cycle, private equity backed, all that. That's what we'll be for San Diego market rate affordable housing. So that's where Housebender's going. That's where I'm going.
Oh yeah. I love that, man. So to close out here, man, somebody looking to find what makes impact in the world for them and drives their economic engine, makes them money, but also makes them feel full. How would you go about finding that?
Yeah. So at the beginning of the talk, we talked about why. So you want to dig deep. There's a great book, Start with Why, read it, figure out what your why is. And there's going to be a unique intersection of your unfair advantage and a need in your community or your local area or in your field or in your profession or in your demographic group. There's going to be an intersection, and then it's going to be circled by your passion. So if you can find those three things, wrap it up with passion, then you can go really, really far, and it can be impact driven and fulfilling.
It's a great answer.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Well, so if people want to get in touch with you, if they want to look at your deals, getting into them, anything like that, property management, what's the best way to get in contact?
Housebender on Instagram. Like Avatar The Last Airbender, but Housebender.
I love that so much. Is that where the name came from?
It sure did, yeah.
That is so badass. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man.
That's it for this episode of the Build a Nation podcast. If it gave you something to think about, hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's leveling up. Until next time, keep building.